ahead.
Okay, so hi everyone. Good evening. So I've given this shiur in the past. I'm not going to pretend I haven't. It's a shiur that I give almost every year. It's a shiur that I originally gave in Chicago. It's based a lot of it on what I once heard in a yeshiva, in a shul in Beit Shemesh, the Rav Soloveitchik shul. One of Rav Soloveitchik's nephews or grandsons, I think it's Rav Meir Soloveitchik, who's a rabbi there, and he said this amazing idea. And years later, I recollected the sources from all over the place. I bought the Nitziv's Haggadah. The Nitziv is the rabbi on the right. And I recreated the shiur based on this original rabbi's shiur. And so who's the Nitziv? The Nitziv was born in 1816 and passed away in 1893. He was the first rabbi of the yeshivot as we know them today. Meaning, yeshivot back in the day in Bavel and in Sephardi countries used to be that you would, and in European countries until he created it, was that you'd actually live with a family. You'd go to yeshiva, you'd live with a family, and they would basically adopt you and you'd eat by them, and there wouldn't be pnimiot, there wouldn't be dorms, you'd live with families. His yeshiva, the Volozhin yeshiva, was the first yeshiva, which was like the traditional yeshiva, and one of his Talmidim Muvhakim, one of his best students and closest students was Rav Kook. Even though he only learned in Volozhin yeshiva for 2 years, he was one of his main students, and he continued his legacy. One of his sons also continued legacy, and that was Rav Meir Berlin, who eventually changed his name to Rav Meir Bar Ilan, and that's who the Bar Ilan University is named after, with the Nitziv's grandson, the Nitziv's son, Rav Meir Bar Ilan. He has a very cool outlook on Seder Night, which I want to share with you tonight. And as such, let's start. So I'll give you a chance now, for those who want to share, which unique minhagim do you have on Seder Night? Does anyone have any unique minhagim that they think are unique? Shame that I don't think Avi Levi is here. Avi Levi and Yosef Dom have told me in the past. Hi, Eli. Great to see you. Eli Simus here, a Bulgarian from my first year. He's in the army, Baruch Hashem. In any case, anyone have any cool minhagim, unique minhagim that they think are unique at least? Anyone? No, nothing?
I don't know, but
Rob, at my Pesach Seder, we sing a tikva at the end.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay. Anyone else have anything like that?
Well, I remember my father, Alav Shalom. He used to drink the Eliyahu and Avi's cup.
Oh, so Rav Erez has a very cool shiur on that. I don't know if he's given that yet. In the internet shiurim, he has a very cool vort on that, and he says you should drink the fifth cup. My rabbis don't agree, and it's perfectly fine. They don't agree. There's different shitot out there, but his opinion is you should drink the fifth cup. And Rav Sachs, the previous chief rabbi of Israel, of Britain, has a whole idea about this. There's actually 5 sons. There's actually 5 questions. There's actually 5 cups, and there's actually 5 words describing the redemption. In any case, won't go to that now. But if the Sephardi Talmidim were here, unfortunately they're not. I mean, I can't see them yet. No, they're not. They have a very cool minhag, which is hitting each other with leeks. Okay, they hit each other with the leeks or spring onions, like the like the slave masters did to the Jews. The Egyptian slave masters used to hit the Jews. So they have this minhag of hitting each other with leeks during the Seder. I don't know if they try and draw blood. I assume not, because you know how to draw blood on Shabbat. But they violently hit each other with leeks or spring onions. And some Libyan Jews, and this isn't just the Libyan Jews, they carry matzot on their back as if they're leaving Mitzrayim. They act out the Yitzim Mitzrayim. So what's the reason we do all these strange minhagim? I hope for some more extra strange minhagim, but you guys seem to be normal guys. But there are lots of weird minhagim out there. The question is, why do we do things differently? Anyone know why we do things differently on Seder Night? What's the general answer normally given? Go on, Eddie.
So people out.
Go on, Eddie.
So
The kids will ask questions.
Yeah, Fermo, that's the normal answer we give. Today we're going to see that is
Wait,
an
what
answer.
did he say? Rob, what did he say? I didn't hear.
I said that's an answer we often give, and that's a good answer most of the time.
No,
However,
I didn't hear the answer. I didn't hear the answer. What did he say?
to get people to ask, right? To get people to the kids to ask. To why are we doing that weird thing? Why are we taking the matzahs off the table right now? That's very bizarre. What's going on? And that is the reason why we do all these different things. With that being said, we are going to see four different weird halachic things we do, minhagim. Some are minhagim, some we all do them. And we're going to need to explain why we do them. And the answer that Eli wonderfully gave of Kadesha Yeladim Yishalu, so people will ask, is a good answer normally, but this time it's not. So Eli, great attempt. But this time, unfortunately, we're not going to accept it. So let's continue. All right, so which unique minhagim halachot are we going to be discussing today? So let me just minimize my screen, things. Okay, so we wash our hands before Karpas. What is Karpas? Karpas is green vegetables. Some people use potatoes. I want to ask an honest question, and I hope the answer is no. Otherwise, you guys are like super firm, which is perfectly fine, but it's bizarre if you are doing it. Who here washes their hands before eating an apple which is wet? Anyone? No.
Like if it's convenient to do it sometimes.
Pardon?
Like if I'm washing the apple, my hand get wet too. Does that count?
No. I'm saying you purposely do it. Ali Seymour, do you do it? You lifted your hand.
Because of the army, we have to wash our hands no matter what before any food.
Okay, so again, that's army. I'm saying halachically, on a day-to-day basis, do you have the tradition of washing your hands before eating wetted vegetables? Normally the answer is no. So why do we do it on Seder night? That's the first question. Number two, reclining during Seder night. Why on earth do we recline? No one reclines today. Without being offensive, the only people who recline today whilst eating, unfortunately, people who are begging on the streets. Why are we reclining? They're lying on the floor. Why are they reclining? Why are we reclining? How does that exercise any sign of freedom? Number three, some people, I have the minhag. Some Sfardim have a minhag of wearing other white things, but there is a minhag to wear a kittel on Seder night. Why? Why does that minhag exist? Again, you may not all keep this minhag. Maybe your fathers wear it. Maybe you've been to Seder before where someone wears a kittel, and maybe you've never heard this minhag before. But it is an existing and popular minhag, and the question is why? Especially as the only place other time we wear a kittel, apart from me on Purim for the jokes, is on Yom Kippur. So why do we wear it on Pesach? Okay. The other one is the whole meal is to be eaten as if before the king. We'll explain what that means in a little bit, but we'll leave that aside for now. The whole meal is to eaten as if before the king, not a king, but the king, Kodesh Baruch Hu. And the last thing is interrupting halal with other mitzvot in the middle. Now, halachically, we may all struggle with this, but halachically, you're not supposed to interrupt your davening. You're not supposed to speak in the middle of davening. You're also not supposed to speak in the middle of halal. You're not supposed to do mitzvot in the middle of halal. Or if you are, you're not supposed to make brachas during it. Meaning, if you do lulav netruk, which you're supposed to on Sukkot, you do it in the middle of halal, but you don't say the brachas after starting halal. You do the bracha for lulav, you bench lulav, as you say in Yiddish, you shake the lulav, and then you start halal. And then you shake during halal. However, during Seder night, we do the halal, we stop in the middle, we eat matzahs, we eat a whole meal, and then we go back and finish halal. What's going on? How come we can interrupt a whole halal and sit down for a meal for an hour, however long the meal is, if you're rushing for chatzot, if your minhag is to rush before chatzot, but you're mamash, you're at least interrupting for an hour. So those are the 5 cases we have. And through answering why we do all these weird things, this is quite a halachic shiur with a very cool message at the end. So if you guys have problem following, try and hold on because it has a very cool twist at the end. But to get to that twist, we need to ask lots of questions, okay? So I hope everyone can hold on. I'm not warning you. It's nothing to be scared of, but I want to make sure you are aware of the fact this may take a while to actually get to the answer. So just have these 5 cases at hand when we are going through this year. So if we now continue, we're going to deal with one by one, okay? Excuse me. All right. So one by one, washing hands before Karpas. Why do we wash before Karpas? So I kind of hinted towards it. Anyone understand further why we do it? Why do we wash our hands before Karpas? Any ideas? Anyone? Because there aren't that many people in the shir, no one has to raise their hands. Ellie, just unmute yourselves and you're welcome to speak. Does anyone know why we wash before Karpas?
Well, I would, just taking a guess, wouldn't it be like you have salt on your hands, you wash your hands before you eat, as we do with Mayim Achronim?
Okay, fair. What salt do we have on our hands?
I don't remember.
No, it's okay. No, I'm saying that might be a finance, but in this case, the Mayim Achronim is because you've dipped your hands in actual salt. What's interesting is I was once in a Moroccan shul. Moroccan Sephardim in general are very makbid about doing Mayim Achronim, and I was in a shul and they did. I don't know who davens here. Nusach Sephardim benching, but in the end of the first bracha they have a minhag of saying Potech et yedecha u'maspilach al right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they have a minhag, some Moroccans, they have a minhag of dipping their fingers in the crumbs and say Potech et yedecha and then touching their eyes, which I do Mayim Achronim, but it's counterintuitive because Mayim Achronim is supposed to wash off the salt from your hands by dipping your fingers in the salt again. And then touching your eyes after just having done Mayim Achronim. If the reason for Mayim Achronim is not to blind yourself with salt, well, you're literally sticking salt in your face. So that's not an encouragement if you are doing Mayim Achronim. In any case, why do we wash? So the reason is this. The Shulchan Aruch says, he quotes a halacha. It's from the Gemara. Yad Shachat Dam, is Rosh Teivot for Yain, Dvash, Shemen, Chalev, Chalav, Tal, Dam, Mayim. Any fruits which have been touched by wine, honey, oil, milk, dew with a D, not as a Jew, dew, blood, or water, you need to wash your hands before doing so, before eating them. Who here, on a day-to-day basis, apart from if you're in the army for hygiene reasons, washes their hands before a apple which had wine on it or had water on it? You've washed an apple. You've now made it susceptible to tumor. Who here washes their hands? No one does, I assume. The normal practice is not to. However, if we go on to this, so let's see where we get Karpas from. The Urchatz, where do we get it from? Notelia Dav, source one on the top of the page. Notelia Dav letzach tibur rishon. You wash your hands before the first dipping. You don't make a bracha. Karpas. And then you take from the Karpas and you eat the Karpas after by saying Baruch Adama. Vaz yitzaveh lasiram ma'al hashulchan, and then you ask for the matzahs to be removed. Ulanicham b'sof hashulchan, and put them at the end of the table. Kilu kvar achlu, as if they've already eaten. K'dei shiru tinokot v'yishalu. So the kids see and ask questions. Now, what's important to know is the reason for moving the matzahs is to create them to ask questions. So here, Eli Seamer, Shkoch, the reason why we do some of the weird things is to get people to ask questions. However, about the netila of the washing the hands, it doesn't say anything about getting people to ask questions. So the question is why we do it. So the Taz, who's one of the commentators on the Shulchan Aruch, says, and we won't see it inside, he says, here you go, this is proof that I'm right and you're wrong. People have always not taken washing of hands seriously. By the fact in the Shulchan Aruch, it says you need to wash your hands on Seder Night, that's proof that what? You always need to wash your hands before eating wet foods. And I don't get it. And if you want to say it's just a stringency, then why don't we do the stringency during the 10 days of repentance when we take on extra stringencies? Those people who eat pat akum, bread made by non-Jews, which is kosher, they say Dunkin' Donuts, let's say, normal kosher Dunkin' Donuts, which most of them don't have Jews lighting the fire. It's okay to be lenient on that, but many people who are lenient on that are stringent during the 10 days. Says the Taz, no one does that. No one's stringent for washing their hands during the 10 days of repentance. Therefore, it must be that people are getting it wrong. So why don't people wash? The Taz says everyone should be washing, and this is proof. At the end of the day, no one is washing. So even though the Taz has that opinion, why do you wash today? Why do you wash Seder night before eating vegetables? So, quick trivia question. What does Napoleon have to do with Pesach? Any ideas?
Chometz.
Napoleon is chametz. Interesting, Ovadia. What do you mean by that?
It's a cake, no?
No, no, Napoleon, the actual French leader. Look at the screen, Ovadia.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I
Napo-
see. I don't know.
Napoleon Bonaparte.
Didn't Napoleon say like your troops have to eat, and then and then a lot of them die from sickness for not being hygienic?
I don't know. The answer is he doesn't have anything to do with Pesach, but there is a small connection, which is the next person we're going to see and learn about is a rabbi called, went the wrong direction, Rabbi Yishmael Hakon Modena. Modena is in Italy. This rabbi died in 1811. He born in 1723, died in 1811, and he was a Rosh Hashiva. He replaced his brother when he passed away for 30 years. Now, Modena was conquered in his time by Napoleon, and Rabbi Yishmael Hakon Modena was invited by Napoleon to Paris to join him to talk about the Jewish problem and solve the Jewish status in Paris. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to go because of his old age and he wasn't feeling well, so he sent a letter instead. So the answer is there's no real connection, but this rabbi who's talking here about Pesach was aware of Napoleon and was once asked even to join him in Paris to discuss the Jewish problem, or the status of the Jews, at least. France, under Napoleon, emancipated the Jews. Okay, so let's see what Rabbi Shmuel Hakon has to say. One that eats food that is wet with fluid needs to wash his hands. There are three different opinions regarding this washing. One, some hold that one needs to wash and that a blessing is required. Two, others hold that its washing is required but without a blessing. Three, last opinion holds that today there's no obligation to wash. Okay? Why would you not wash today? For what reason? We do wash today. Why would you think maybe possibly you don't need to wash before wet vegetables?
Because we're all tummy anyway.
Oh, okay. Not far from the answer. Anyone want to try and better Vadi's answer? It's a good answer. Anyone got any even better answers? Okay.
Well,
so
you're just gonna wash them. Aren't you just gonna wash them again, anyways?
Nachon, but then back in the day, why did they wash then? Okay, so if I'm right, let's see. So the Magen Avraham, the Shulchan Aruch ruled according to the second opinion that we do wash without a bracha. The Magen Avraham ruled that the multitude, the many, do not wash during the year and they have what to rely on. Yet the Tosfot hold that one indeed needs to wash. The conduct of the majority of people today is only to wash on Pesach, and only a minuscule minority of people wash all year round. For instance, I've seen one of my rabbis once wash before eating of an apple. Never before have I seen it, never after. However, on Pesach, everyone washes the first time without a blessing. Chok Yaakov already wrote that the reasoning for the stringence on Pesach, writing that the change is supposed to cause the children to ask Manishtana. Okay, like Eli Sima, I don't know if Eli Sima is still here, but Eli Sima suggested all the changes we do are to cause people to ask. The question is, okay, but is that really true? Do we just add on stuff all the time? Can I just make up minhagim to get kids to ask? So in general, the answer is yes. But he doesn't agree with that. He says this reason doesn't make sense, as the Gemara only mentions the first dipping as an act that is meant to cause the children to ask. Why are we dipping before the meal when we normally dip during? And from where should we learn that the other changes were not mentioned in the Talmud should not be added? So he said, who says we don't add things stam just to cause kids to ask? So we right now do not have an answer to why we still wash. No one's stringent the rest of the year. So why suddenly to become stringent on Pesach? So that's one question we're going to place on the side, okay? Everyone understand the question? Anyone have questions on that question? Okay, to summarize the question is why are we stringent on Pesach to wash our hands before wet vegetables when normally we're not? Next thing, reclining. Anyone have any ideas? Why do we lean on Pesach during the mitzvot? What's the reason behind it?
Well, aren't we supposed to be like kings, and kings recline when they drink?
Okay, great. Nachon. Why is it therefore, you are completely right. Why is it therefore bizarre that we still do it today?
It's a symbol. It's symbolic to freedom, that we're free and we're not slaves anymore like we were
Yeah,
in
fair,
Egypt.
but fine. You said it's because we're kings. Why is it bizarre, according to that reasoning, to still do it today? I'll go back a few pages. 1 second, if everyone's looking. What is Trump doing there?
Is that matzo ball soup?
I mean, it's what's it called? It's edited. I didn't make that picture, but yeah. What's he doing there, though? He is eating. How is he?
What I guess what you're trying to say is what is classified as a king today?
No one. Go into Buckingham Palace. Does the Queen recline when eating?
I don't know.
Maybe Arab kings do today, but most people, and even that I doubt, most kings today, most world leaders today do not lean as a show of freedom. So why are we doing it today? Okay, so much so, if you look at this, the Shulchan Aruch says this, women don't need to lean today, don't need to recline, unless they are important. So thankfully, the Ashkenaz, the Ramah, isn't actually a feminist, but he says something very, very important. He says, all women today, all our women today are considered important. Okay, so no one jumping on the bandwagon of the Shulchan Aruch saying women are important. The Ramah says all women are important today. However, they don't lean today because they rely on the Raviyah. We'll discuss with the Raviyah what he says in a second. Because he says, the Raviyah says, no one needs to lean today. Why does no one need to lean today? We'll see that in a second. So Talmud Yerushalmi says, slaves eat standing up because they don't have time. However, free people do it leaning. Okay, even people who are working, who are slaves, can sit down and eat today. So we also need to analyze why we do it. So what does the Beit of Raviyah says? This is very important. Says the Avi Ezri, no one needs to lean today. Why does no one need to recline today? It's important to say no. There are some mitzvot we rule today that if you don't lean down for some of the mitzvot, you're not yotze. You have to do them again. If you're eating matzah without leaning, you have to eat the matzah again. So the Avi Ezri says, however, if you're not leaning, you're not yotze. Sorry, if you don't need to lean at all. Why? Because it's not our way to lean today. No one leans and eats. It's just not the done thing. So if you look at the last two lines, even though the Raviyah says you don't need, the Avi Ezri says you don't need to, because that's not the done thing. Everyone else disagrees. But the Raviyah has a great point. Why do we lean today? No one leans today. It's not a sign of freedom. I mean, Ephraim, you are originally right. In the time of even the Second Temple, people were leaning. That's how people would eat. Even in the time of the Gemara, the Talmud, people were still eating lying down. The wealthy people. However, today it's not the done thing. Therefore, we need to ask, why? Why not? So now we have two questions. Why we still wash before wet vegetables, even though day-to-day no one does that. No one does that anymore. And on top of that, why on earth do we lean when no one leans anymore? Okay.
Rob, I have a quick question.
Go on.
So when we wash before we said before fruit, did they do that back in the day when they washed before fruit? Did they say a bracha? Like in the Seder, when we wash for the first time, we don't say a bracha.
L'chora they would have. L'chora they would have, even though the Shulchan Aruch says we don't, even on a weekday. The Shulchan Aruch says we should do it on a weekday. No one does that. So Shulchan Aruch says you don't. So l'chora, if the Shulchan Aruch says you don't, they back then didn't either. Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. So moving on, the tradition of wearing kittel. So kosh ken botan shelovshim hakitel b'shat seder shever lo yibashena ela denire detam levishat hakitel ushelo tazuach dato alav mipnei hasimcha haken yibash beged meitim fize kam haavel yibashenu. Some people say you shouldn't wear someone who's in Avela shouldn't wear a kittel on Seder night because it makes you happy. However, the Taz says, but the reason we wear a kittel isn't to make you happy, it's actually to stop you from getting too happy. Seder night, we're drinking wine, we can get jolly, but it's a very awesome and holy night. So according to the Taz, we wear a kittel to actually remind us of the day of our death, which is really, really ominous. To remind us that that just like when you're buried, halakha, you get buried in a kittel, something similar to a kittel. So too, we want to wear it and saying this very, very ominous. We want to wear it on Seder night to realize that, okay, guys, let's take it seriously, because if we don't behave, look where it'll get us. And that's why we wear it. Rashi says, however, "Alachash shchita ki zachu ben hakonim b'chazeh v'shak ben ha'baalim b'shah basar v'shulchan gavoa zachu." So the kittel symbolizes freedom, but is a kittel today symbolized with freedom? The Netziv, who we haven't seen inside yet, notes that the reasoning is challenging to remind us of death, because there are other days of Simcha which we don't wear a kittel. I wear a kittel on Purim, no one else does. Simcha Torah, not everyone does. There's many days of Simcha which we don't wear a kittel. So what's going on? Like, come on, so why do we wear it? I don't get it, says the Netziv. It doesn't make sense to wear it to calm my Simcha down, because we don't do it half the time. We do it on Yom Kippur. Everyone wears it on Yom Kippur. Most people's minhag is to wear on Yom Kippur. On other days, it's the Chazan, on Yom Noraim, on Rosh Hashanah. Some people wear also on Rosh Hashanah, like I do, but many people just Yom Kippur. So what's going on? How say that? Why are you saying it's a reason to keep us in check for the Simcha? Rashi says that the korbanot are elevated when we eat korbanot, and we're eating from the Shulchan Gavoa. We're eating from the heavenly table. And we could explain that the reason we wear it is because we want to be wearing the best begadim possible when we are eating from korbanot. But at the end of the day, we're not eating korbanot. We're not. We're eating symbolic things. We're eating matzah, which is midoraita, but it's not the korban. So if we want to say it's lichvod, in honor of eating from the mizbeach, eating from the korban pesach, which isn't from the mizbeach, but for the korban pesach, what's going on? We're not doing that, lemaisa. Okay, so it's not very clear why we wear the kittel, at least not according to the Netziv. He doesn't understand why we wear it. Okay. Now, who here has the minhag of eating Shmura Matza on Seder night?
Is that like which one's that? Is that the round cardboard one?
So not all round cardboard one is Shmura. Very often it is. Some people have a minhag of eating handmade in the night, which we try to do, but almost every time we buy handmade, we open up the box and almost all of them are broken. But Shmura Matza is flour, which is made from wheat, which from its point of it being harvested until it was ground, they made sure no rain fell on it. No water touched it.
I believe that's my minhag, Rav.
Pardon?
I said I believe that's my minhag to have it on the Seder.
Some people do it, great. So some people do it for the whole 7 days, 8 days in Chuzar. Some people just do it for Seder night. So the Shulchan Aruch says this. Hachitim shosim behem matzot mitzvah tov l'shamram shelo yiplu aleim mayim mishat ksira. Shulchan says the matzot we eat on Seder night for the mitzvah, right? You eat matzah during the meal if you have room still. If you are one of these meshuggahs like me who eat a lot, not just a little bit, but actually what the whole shitot, the whole machloket about what kazait is, then you're going to be full already. But if you're not like that and you actually have room to eat more matzah, then you don't have to have that as shmura, but the matzot which you are eating for the mitzvot of matzah, of korech and all these things, they need to be from matzah shmura. However, he says shatat chak. In times of need, it's okay to just take flour from the shuk. Now, it's important to know, today you cannot do that, because the way you make flour today is actually washed with water and bleached. And so actually, flour which you buy in a pack, which isn't kosher Pesach, has actually been already chametz, or it's very possible it's been chametz by it being washed. So you can't actually buy stam kemach from the shuk today for that reason. In any case, most of us aren't making our own homemade matzahs. I know that Shari every year makes homemade matzah. They have their own oven, but most people don't do that. So why do we do it? Why is there this stringency? So you've seen source 2. The Mishnah Berurah says, right? The Mishnah Berurah, who also wrote the Chavetz Chaim, Shmira Matza, what said Amar? המצוות שאוכלים בשתי הלילות הראשונות לקיים בהן מצוות בערב תאכלו, מצות בערב תאכלו, מצות הם צריכים שמירה יתרה. These מצות need special guarding. לא די לנו במה שאין לנו ריותה של חשש חימוץ. It's not enough just to know it's not חמץ, אלא שצריך שימור יתרה. It needs to be what? Special guarding. The mitzvot of matzah. Or the matzot of mitzvah even. The ones which you're eating for mitzvah, they need special guarding. L'shem mitzvat matzah, tichtiv v'shmartem et ha-mitzvot, v'aynu shetzich shishmor l'shem mitzvah. You need to guard them in the name of the mitzvah. As such, that's why we do it. But the question is why? Why do they need to? So Netziv says, all the meals, says Netziv, you need to not just for the mitzvot, matzot of the mitzvah. You need to try and eat all night mitzvot, matzot, shmura, says Netziv, because it's as if we're sitting before a king. Why? Why? It's befitting to. Why are we sitting before a king? He says, according to Rashi, when you eat a korban, you're benefiting from the upper table. You're eating before king. So the korban pesach is as if we're eating before king. So all that sudah back in the time of the Beit HaMikdash is this we're eating before king. So says the Netziv, therefore today we need to eat Shmura Matza, the whole meal. We should do that. But there's one problem with what the Netziv is saying. Today we're not eating the korban pesach, which is not eating it. So why are you saying because we're eating the korban pesach, we're not eating it? The Netziv says, as long as one is still involved in the mitzvah, all of it is considered mitzvah, even if one is doing more than the obligated amount. So if you're eating more extra matzah, make sure it's the best matzah you can eat. But he says the reason we're doing that is because you're eating from the korban, but we're not eating from the korban. Well, so what's going on? And the last thing is interrupting halal. And that we're going to summarize the questions and then get to an answer very, very soon. One second. So, unfortunately, I didn't copy this over properly. But the Netziv, it says when you go into the Shulchan Aruch says in Orach Chaim in Hilchot Pesach, we read, go into the shul in Pesach morning, we daven Shachrit, we say Hallel, and we don't interrupt. However, suddenly on Seder Night we do interrupt. And how is that possible? So I'm just going to read out from the Daf Makor. Unfortunately, I copied over the wrong slide here. He says this. And for this reason, Chazal instruct us to interrupt the Hallel, even though generally, when reading the full Hallel, it's forbidden to interrupt. The reason being that they want to teach us that the very eating itself is a mitzvah, and we are therefore obligated to thank Hashem for that also. The eating of the meat is a mitzvah, and therefore we interrupt with the Suda to show that even though we don't normally interrupt, don't think that this measly eating of a Suda is not a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah as much as the Hallel is, and therefore we interrupt the middle of Hallel to eat. So, we discussed 5 things here. Washing hands before Karpas. Big question is, why we do it today? No one does it during the week. No one does it during the year. Why do we continue to do so? Reclining during Seder Night. Reclining isn't really a sign of freedom today. So why are we still doing it? Why are we keeping that up? Question number 3. Traditional wearing kittel. Is it really to awaken our sadness to make sure we don't overdo it on Pesach night and get too jolly? If so, we should wear kittel half the time. But we don't. So why are we wearing kittel? The whole meal is to be eaten as if before the king. Okay, but that's, like we said, only if we're eating a korban. We're not eating a korban on Seder night today. So why are we keeping up with the Shmura Matza, according to Nitziv, and eating Shmura Matza all night long if you can? Why? There's no reason to be stringent. And the last thing is interrupting halal. We do it to show that the eating itself is a mitzvah. Well, the eating of matzah is a mitzvah, but there's no korban pesach, so why are we doing it? To understand that, we'll read a short passage from the Nitziv. He says like this. Well, normally we say we are reliving Yetziat Mitzrayim. When we do the whole Seder night, we're trying to relive one thing and one thing only, Yetziat Mitzrayim. However, the Nitziv has a huge chiddush. He has a huge new idea, which is this. We do it actually not to relive Yetziat Mitzrayim only. We do it to relive something else. We do it to relive temple times as well. Hachanat HaSeder Shel Pesach Hinhigu Chazal Lasot Dugma K'mo Shehu Nogim Be'eretz Zman Achilat Pesach. They made the whole Seder night, when they established the Seder night and instituted it as a done thing, and not everyone is allowed to read whichever passages they want. They made it to be as similar as possible to the way they did the Seder night during the Beit HaMikdash time in Eretz Yisrael when they were eating the Pesach. And that's the reason why we wash our hands before eating Karpas, and that's the reason why we wear kittel, and that's the reason why we eat the Pesach in the way we do. We act in fear as if we're eating the Korban Pesach, and that's why we interrupt in the middle of Hallel. Just so that he hasn't really gone into details here, and I intentionally didn't bring everything onto the page because I know we don't have time, and it's not so important to see inside. If we just explain. So Ephraim asked, did they make a bracha in the time of the Beit HaMikdash? And I said, Shulchan Aruch says you don't need to. I don't know if they did back then. However, what is clear is back then they were stringent with washing their hands. Why were they stringent with washing their hands? Because they're eating korbanot, they're eating truma, they're eating holy things the whole time. And therefore they had to be stringent with washing their hands so as not to be matame, not to make the fruits and vegetables that they're eating tame. On top of that, they used to wear a kittel. Why did they used to wear a kittel? Because back then, they used to wear linen garments when they ate the Pesach. It says in the Nitziv quotes that in Proverbs, it says that they used to wear these things. There's a Masorah, there's tradition, they used to wear Egyptian linen, according to Mishlei. And so just like in the temple time where they would wear white Egyptian linen, so too we wear the best clothes we can. The reclining, why do we recline? Because back then they reclined. That was the dun minhag. Back then you would recline because that was the way of showing freedom, even in the Bayit Sheni, Second Temple. And as such, we want to do that as well, to go hark back to the times of the Beit HaMikdash. And so to interrupting Halal, it's as if we are eating the Korban Pesach. And that's why we eat Shmura all the time, because even though we're not eating the Korban Pesach, we want to hark back to time where we were eating the Korban Pesach and want to get close as possible. Question is why? Why do we do that? Why are we trying to hark back to the Beit HaMikdash? And this is where we get into the whole crux of it. The whole idea that this show has been going on now for around 50 minutes. Why are we trying to go back to the Beit HaMikdash? Let's move on. So, one of the first things we say in the Seder night is this. Kol dichvin yete v'yilchu. All that are poor should come and eat. Kol tzarich, all that are needy, yete v'yifsach. They should come and do the Pesach. We don't have the Pesach today. I open the door, I invite people in, I say, not now in the Corona, unfortunately, I invite people in and say, v'yifsach. Come and do the Pesach with us. There's no Korban Pesach. Why am I saying v'yifsach? The reason is because the Chazal wanted us to be modeling ourselves on the Seder night. And why model ourselves on the Seder night? For this reason. Many people incorrectly think the mitzvah in Chutz La'aretz are the Rabbanim, because they misunderstood the teaching of the Ramban. There's a pasuk which says, Hatzivi lach tziyunim, establish for yourselves remembrances. So on Seder night we say, Hashta hacha, this year we are here, Lashana ba b'Eretz Yisrael, next year we will be in the land of Israel. Hashta avdei, this year we are slaves. Lahashana ba b'nei chorin, next year we will be free. So we're making two prayers or hopes. One, to be in Israel. Two, to be free. The question is, how does one achieve that? So Nitziv says an amazing, amazing thing. First of all, he says, Chazal made all these mitzvot. Sorry, someone's writing to me. Chat. 1 second. Okay. Okay, so the people with questions, I will answer privately after, okay? If I see your question, I'll answer after, okay? So we are, what's it called? We have these two hopes, Eretz Israel and being free. Question is, how does one achieve it? So the Netziv says this, crazy idea. I hope you all think it's as moving as I. He says, first thing, how do we get to Israel? When we get to Israel, we're going to be bereft of mitzvah. We're not going to know things. So, says Netziv, first thing is, Hashta Hacha L'Shana Haba B'Israel. This year, we are here. Next year, we'll be in Israel. So all the mitzvot of the Beit HaMikdash, hark back to then. All the mitzvot of Le'aseh, hark back to the Beit HaMikdash. So when the Beit HaMikdash is speedily rebuilt, we're going to know what to do. We're going to know how to interrupt. We're allowed to interrupt. We're going to know that we need to eat Shmura Matza because we're before King. We're going to know we need to wear the best clothes we can. We're going to know we need to recline because that would be the done thing back then, today as well. So it's reminders. But, like I said, the leaning doesn't really work with it. I did say it so we know, but it's another thing. There's no reason why we're going to start leaning again just because the Beit HaMikdash is rebuilt. It's not the done cultural thing. So you actually suggest another reason. So first is so we don't forget the mitzvot. That was so we get to land of Israel, we know what we're doing. However, there's also an idea, so we'll have the merits to be redeemed. In Mitzrayim, they were given tons of minuscule mitzvot to do with the sheep, to tie it up, to look after it, to feed it, to rub the blood on the doorposts. If we had the Beit HaMikdash now, we don't do that. That was only in the first Korban Pesach. We slaughter the Korban Pesach, spill the blood, and then cook it, or grill it, and then eat it. There aren't tons of mitzvot. So the Mefarshim explain, why did God give so many extra mitzvot? So we'd have a merit to be redeemed. We didn't have so many mitzvot back then. God wanted to challenge us as much as possible to give us the zchut to be redeemed. And this is what the Netziv says is same today. We're given all these obscure and sometimes nonsensical mitzvot to give us the extra zchuyot to be redeemed. There really is no reason to lean today. Doesn't make logical sense. There is no really reason to wash our hands before eating wet vegetables because no one does the rest of the year. However, we want to be given added mitzvot as much as possible to bring the Beit HaMikdash. That's what it harks us back to there, takes us back to there, back to the future, back to the past, takes us all the way back to there. So we have the extra merits to bring the Beit HaMikdash. If we are doing all these obscure things, we are washing our hands even though it doesn't make sense, leaning it doesn't make sense, wearing a kittel even though it doesn't really make sense, all these things are to actually give us extra brownie points in Shemaim to bring the redemption. And we emulate the Korban Pesach as much as possible. However, we don't do it all the way. What do I mean by that? Once the Korban Pesach was shechted, you couldn't invite anyone else in to eat from your Korban Pesach. You couldn't. Just not possible. They have to be known before you give the shechita and be part of your group, your chabura, your group of the matzah eaters. Today, however, we invite the poor people in to eat. We say, as I said, this is on the page here. All that are needy, all that are poor, come and eat. All that are needy, come do the Pesach. Because even though we go to amazing lengths to get the to emulate the Beit HaMikdash, we don't do it to such a degree that it would actually stop people from performing mitzvot. Because if we were to do it to such a degree where we don't even invite Jews in, then we're not even going to be able to do mitzvot. To have the extra redemption, we want as many Jews to come in, even though back in the temple time you couldn't actually invite the poor in after Korban Pesach. Here we invite anyone in, all the poor in, to make sure that they have a place to do the Seder, so they have, as part of Am Yisrael, extra zchuyot to bring the redemption. And that's what the message is here. We want to awaken within us the remembrance, so when we come back, we won't forget, and also give us extra brownie points to bring the redemption. And it's possible to add, as I said, and it's one of his main Talmidim was Rav Kook. He says this, a very, very poignant quote, and with this we'll finish, and if anyone has questions at the end, I'll let you guys ask. אי אפשר לאדם ישראלי שיהיה מסור ונאמן למחשבותיו, הגיונותיו, רעיונותיו ודמיונותיו בחוץ לארץ. One cannot be honest to one's thoughts other than in the land of Israel. בחוץ לארץ, תכונת הנאמנות הזאת בארץ ישראל, you can't be honest. You can't be like get to the deep understanding of who you really are and who you should be in Chutz La'aretz. Only in Israel. Skip a little bit. He says in Chutz La'aretz, it's a lot of other thoughts come in which aren't pure thoughts, and you can only achieve it in Israel. That means anyone in Chutz La'aretz is really lost. He can't get it. It seems very depressing to anyone living in Chutz La'aretz. And he could really be trying to get at that, but he doesn't leave it at that. He says, however, so if you're in Chutz La'aretz, you're messed up, it would seem. You're not, because the Rav Kook is going to tell us that you're not. But at first glance you are. So he says, Omnam, the more you're connected to the land of Israel, even if you're not there, your thoughts are purified. If you are more connected to the land of Israel, even if you're not here, your thoughts become pure. Misod avir deretz, from the basis of the air of Eretz Yisrael. The air of Eretz always makes your mind clearer. Which the air of Eretz Yisrael, even though I'm right now breathing the air of Eretz Yisrael physically, there's also spiritual air of Eretz Yisrael. And when I love the land of Israel, even if I'm not here, I get connected to that. Even if I'm hundreds of miles away. And that's the idea. And as he quotes, Simchu et Yerushalayim gilu ba kol ha'oveh. This is a famous song, Simchu et Yerushalayim gilu ba. I won't finish it, but Simchu et Yerushalayim gilu ba. Rejoice in Yerushalayim. Be happy in it. V'gilu ba kol ha'oveh. All those that love it, rejoice in it. It doesn't say all those that dwell in it. A Jew who loves the land of Israel, loves Yerushalayim, will be able to rejoice in it eventually in its eventual rebuilding. How do we awaken this desire for the land of Israel? By doing the mitzvot that we mentioned, by really, really driving it home for us that we're connected to the Beit HaMikdash, connected to the land of Israel, even though it doesn't make sense for us to recline, even though it doesn't make logical sense to wash our hands. When we are again and again, every year, coming back to Seder Night and doing the mitzvot of the land of Israel, of the Beit HaMikdash, that should eventually awaken within us a desire for the land of Israel. And who knows, Be'ezrat Hashem Aliyah, but even if you don't do Aliyah, but you still desire it so much, maybe you can't make Aliyah for all those reasons, doesn't matter. If you desire that enough, then you will be connected to the land of Israel, and you will be able to rejoice. V'gilu ba kol ha'oveh. So again, if we summarize, we had 5 questions, 5 bizarre things we do, and we tried to answer 3 different answers. Netziv had 2 answers, and then we added Rav Kook's answer. The first 2 answers were, one is to give us the opportunity to have extra mitzvot, so we can bring the redemption in time and in the right time. So if we have extra mitzvot, then the redemption will actually come. The second reason, or the first reason, that in the order we saw, was to make sure we don't forget the mitzvot when we return. Well, they'll be still very familiar to us. And the last thing is to create a love and a desire for the land of Israel by again and again, year after year, being connected to the land of Israel, being connected to the Beit HaMikdash, and through doing these bizarre things, which don't always seem to make so much sense if you look at them logically, at the end of the day, we do them to awaken within us the desire to return to the land of Israel. On that note, I'll open it up to any questions. If anyone has any questions of what I've just said. If not, I'm going to leave it like that.